Welcome to Startup Confidential, what industry insiders will never tell you that you need to know if you're building a consumer brand. With your host, best-selling author of Ramping Your Brand, Dr. James Richardson. Let's do this.
Welcome to episode 144, a one-page plan to launch. For years, I've talked about having a one-page strategic plan, which contains your one-line competitive strategy and outlines the key playbook you are testing to drive exponential growth for your business. For 6 years, I've now taught over 400 founders how to think about all the components of a good one-page strategic plan in my Riding the Ramp trainings. You may even have taken it. There's a problem with your average founder trying to write a basic strategic plan, and that's why I put that training together years ago. Most of the plans, if you even have one, are actually just a fantasy living inside your head. And because most early stage companies have no real board to which they are accountable for all of their assumptions, these fake plans persist inside heads. Why? Well, they're not based on real data, on any empirical understanding of your actual competitive position. There's the data part, sure, and then there's the ability to interpret it well and objectively. Look, there's no one preordained strategy that you need to discover and execute to get to scale. There are usually multiple that will work for your business, unless you're super late with your thing and the space is already overcrowded. And I've talked about this before. In that case, you're going to have to go hard with marketing and brand identity right from the get-go, which probably isn't your strength. Yet, selecting any strategy is where the primal risk exists for founders who want to be disciplined. Because there's always risk in picking one strategy and sticking to it, as the world surrounds you with doubt and skepticism and questions and rage and uncritical applause. Until it doesn't work. The alternative, though, avoiding that primal risk, is a kind of tactical reactivity and flailing without any hypothesis at all. You're just grabbing at any opportunity that comes in front of you. And that exposes you to near-term signals from all directions: buyers, conference speakers, random comments, pitch slam, judge comments, and the latest flashy agency arriving in your inbox with a pitch. Data-driven brands with a focused strategy and a plan are better able to ignore the smoke and mirrors, the shiny objects, the trade-so distractions, the annoying podcasts. ScateRamp brands, the ones I wrote a book about that grow exponentially off of a small base, they pick and, if necessary, repick their strategy as they grow, adapting their playbook to changing competitive circumstances. But if you don't use real external data connected to the actual reality you're selling in as a foundation for your strategic plan, you're just winging it all over again. Just fantasy 2.0. It's not even clear if a plan without some kind of market data from inside the market is even helping you much. And even worse, without data from your fans, you will more easily project your own motives for founding your company right onto your early consumers. And that leads to mistaken buyer pitches, bad messaging on pack, poor communications, the list goes on. In the 2010s, there were some very well-publicized startups that raised enormous sums of cash up front, led often by serial CEOs and founders or just some well-connected iBanker. These rare exceptions can afford to paper over early strategic blunders, and they all made them, with their enormous cash cushion. They bought years of time to course correct that you won't have, most of you, if you misfire wildly into the wrong channels and geographies with the wrong thing. Cash-rich startups, they tend to overspend on trade promos and slotting fees to grab unearned shelf space and then worry about getting trial and repeat later. Now, this can work if the underlying product, magically, from the first iteration, drives strong repeat. But this is not a path that's viable or even available to 95% of you listening, because you don't have that kind of working capital. So ignore the headlines about these companies. The media follows whatever drives clicks, and trust me, big ass raises drive clicks. Now, if you're wondering how to best figure out what your consumers really think about you so that your one-page strategic plan actually has an empirical foundation, here's the key. Focus on the fans who buy you repeatedly, preferably those who have created a habit of buying you at least once a month for more than 6 months. This is something you can survey yourself inside your own email lists and social media followers. It's called purposive sampling in a quantitative research. And in classic market research, it's a no-no because the sample is biased. But the sample is deliberately biased because here that bias has analytical value. We only care about what your fans think, not the people who tried it, got sucked in by the marketing, and then never came back. In fact, one of the strongest signs of brand health out there is the completion rate on one of my patented little client surveys, not cheap, or any survey that you field to your email lists and social followings without my expensive involvement. I once had a client with 15,000 IG followers who couldn't get 500 completes on a 5-minute survey I designed for repeat purchasers of their brand. Why? Well, they had a low repeat rate, and they had stuffed their IG page with bullshit followers driven there by paid influencers. This, kids, is what happens when you follow the impatient cute puppies theory of digital attention gathering. I also have had a client with 1,000 emails, just 1,000, and 4,000 IG followers who garnered 600 completes of a 5-minute fan survey in 48 hours. That, my friends, is a brand built on real passion, hard work, out-of-store grinding. Not Ibotta coupons. Ibotta consumer base. If you want exponential growth, you'd be crazy not to build your one-page plan on fresh fan feedback and market data. Otherwise, whatever competitive strategy you put down could be way, way off target. It could easily be a strategy to acquire clones of yourself. The founder. The category geek. I hope you know how to build clones faster than the Off-World Factory in Star Wars Episode 2. It took them more than 20 years to grow 200,000 clones. Just saying. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that you may be intuitively innovative and have launched with just the right symbolism on your front panel, you darling skinny pop. But this is very, very rare. In fact, it's more rare than SkateRamp brands. And they're not overly common either. But they do emerge from thoughtful iteration again and again, from repositioning, from planning. That's why I spent years deconstructing the rules that SkateRamp brands follow, unconsciously or unconsciously. For most of you, a more analytical, less blind B2B, tactically reactive approach to growth is going to be key to scaling in the 2020s. The evergreen obstacles to growth for any budding SkateRamp brand are your premium price point and sheer consumer inertia inside your operating category. So if you want to rethink your one-page plan and tackle those enemies, I'll be taking another cohort through my Riding the Ramp training in July. Just visit my website, www.premiumgrowthsolutions.com/webinars to grab a spot. That's all I have time for now, friends. And remember, be safe out there.
Thanks for listening. Remember, Dr. Richardson has loads of resources for founders at premiumgrowthsolutions.com. And when you're on his site, don't forget to take his founders quiz and see if you're ready to ride the skate ramp of exponential growth.